MMA Power Rankings. You heard me right. ESPN just released their first list of MMA Power Rankings. You've got Israel Adesanya first, Khabib Nurmagomedov second, Conor McGregor third. Yeah, that's if you're wondering why, what power rankings really mean, just so you know, these aren't pound for pound based on skills. They are based on momentum, star power, and skills. A combination of three. Mr. Wells, what do you think of these rankings?
I mean, it's kind of the confusing part for a lot of people when they see this is they immediately jump to the pound for pound rankings, right? Because that's our catch-all list for like who's the best regardless of division and regardless of size and things like that. This is a little bit different because, like you said, it takes into account like the celebrity and like the power, like momentum and stuff like that, which I get. But at the end of the day, it ends up being very similar to what the pound for pound rankings would be if, the official UFC rankings didn't separate by male or female like they do now. Because you have Amanda Nunes on these power rankings at what, number five right now. And I forget where she was before they split them up, but I remember her being like in the top half, top quarter, maybe even on the pound for pound rankings. Maybe if someone can, search that out and drop it in the comments below just to correct me. But listen, let's run down the list right here and their power rankings. They have Israel Adesanya at number 1. You look over at the pound for pound rankings, he's number 3. But it's take into account the difference of celebrity, star power, things like that, momentum, everything that you mentioned as well. I'm curious, do you agree with Israel Adesanya and his star power being at the top of this list, if you're taking that into account?
Before we get to that, make sure to like and subscribe before I start ranting here. Let us know where you think people should be listed on the power rankings. To your question, do I agree? Not at all. Not even remotely on any planet do I agree Adesanya should be number 1 on these power rankings. Should he be number 3 or 4? Yeah, definitely. Probably number 3, I'd say. I mean, the dude has been on a tear. He's got some good endorsement deals. He's got 4 million Instagram followers, as ESPN says. Yes, he is gaining in popularity, rightfully so. But you're going to put him over, let's just look at number 2, right? You have Izzy on top, and then you look at number 2. Khabib Nurmagomedov, who went out there and went 29-0, who got 11 million views through Russian television, just like shattering, that's so much. And yes, things are a little bit different in Russia. We're not talking about pay-per-view buys. It's through UFC Russia, which is a whole deal that I'm sure the UFC is renegotiating like right now. It's supposed to be, I think, through 2022. I'm almost positive they are at the table right now saying, hey, let's go ahead and change this deal, similar to what they did with Willie Jang when she won the belt and they renegotiated the UFC China TV deal. So you have that dude who everyone's talking about. Is he going to come back for a 30-0 fight? Who Dana is saying like he's going to come back, right? Tried to get him to come back. And you're going to put him below Adesanya, who beat Paulo Costa in dominant fashion, got a couple endorsement deals, but have we heard anything about Adesanya in the past since that fight? I don't know. He's an up-and-coming star. He has draw power, but he is not on the level of Khabib Nurmagomedov, who, as you mentioned, is probably the reason why we're seeing this huge surge for number 9 on that list, Khamzat Chimaev, because his popularity has finally, soaked into that region. We have more fans there. I don't understand that choice at all.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, right? I guess the only reason you would put him, I guess if Khabib had announced that he was, going to take another fight and not retire, maybe they'd have him number 1 here. But I guess the retirement kind of does put a damper on it, so to speak, because it's still unclear if he's going to be fighting again, because he's saying that he's done, and then Dana's saying that he's going to fight, and then he posts something on Instagram the other day saying, "See you soon, Dana." So who knows what's happening with Khabib? At least with Izzy, we kind of know that he's going to be challenging for a second title here soon. So I can kind of see it from that angle. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's Khabib is just absolutely far and away a bigger star right now, just going by sheer numbers. And that's what they reference here on their list. I mean, they like to throw out the Instagram follower numbers. Well, you got 26 in Khabib versus 4 on Izzy. It's quite a significant difference in numbers there. But I don't know. I guess number 3 is kind of, you have to agree with Conor at number 3, right?
Well, see, that's my other thing is that's where I would actually, and this is where I'm going to get far more hate than Khabib versus Izzy. But I think Conor is above Izzy in that regard too. And here's why. Is because if you're talking about star power, right? That's easy. He is the biggest star in the UFC still to this day. He has a fight booked against Dustin Poirier that is very winnable for him, that could throw him right back into the title mix. They could have done it for an interim title fight if they were serious about Khabib's retirement or for the vacant strap, really, if they wanted to. Obviously, they haven't given up on Khabib, but you've got him coming into a fight that he can definitely win and all of that. But here's really why, and this is more about just how these rankings are made. They're talking about star power and all this stuff. I don't know ESPN to make articles about something that Izzy might tweet out. Maybe every once in a while, maybe whatever. I do know ESPN to take just about every single Conor McGregor tweet and either put it into like a little mini article or say ESPN says, they just said recently, I saw today, Conor McGregor is definitely happy with the matchmaking between Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira and is happy it's moving along. What? Why are we... I know of no other person that media outlets everywhere jump on every single tweet he does. He says he's retired. We all know it's BS. How many stories are there about Conor McGregor retires again? So for you to tell me that based on your criteria that you set, you have Izzy above Conor, that just, you guys are the ones that post stuff like Conor is happy with this matchup. I mean, no. Based on their own criteria, it makes no sense that Conor honestly isn't number 1 probably, but 1 or 2. So that's why I would put Izzy at 3 for that reason.
You know what? You convinced me. I agree with you. Conor has 37 million Instagram followers, more than both of those two guys. So yeah, I agree with you. And listen, Conor's all over the place. If you watch a boxing fight, his proper 12 is like on boxing ring mats and on the ropes and everywhere. And his little commercial of him doing his little dance, like back and forth little dance thing, popping up even on UFC shows right now. So Conor is literally everywhere in combat sports. So yeah, even though he is one of 2 people in this top 10 that are not champions. So that just shows you, like, yeah, he's a former champ, but still, like, Conor McGregor is very much like you said. And that's one thing I hate. I absolutely hate nothing more in this MMA article game is writing an article every time he press send on a tweet. I cannot stand that. Cannot stand it. It's very frustrating to me. But yeah, if you're talking about like influence and who really makes people try to go get clicks, even though it's like it's not as big as it was when he was champ and before the Floyd Mayweather fight, obviously, I think, and even worse after he lost to Khabib, there was like people were hanging on literally everything that he did. And those drove numbers across websites and obviously YouTube and everything. And people would just lose their minds anytime he tweeted something. So yeah, and we still see a little bit about that today. But I think we can agree at Jon Jones at number 4, whether it be momentum and or just star power in general. I think those other 3, if you want to shuffle them around in a different area, I think you got to have Jones at 4 though, right?
Yeah, that one I do agree with. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, and yes, this is using their criteria, right? So with star power momentum, Jones arguably lost his last title defense in a lot of people's minds. In my minds, he lost. But, still retained the belts. And he said he's going to move up to heavyweight, but then he was teasing about going back to 205 when Jan won the belt. And again, he's been doing a lot of talk. He got pissed that Khabib got the pound for pound GOAT rankings right when he's, come on. So I think momentum wise, he's right now kind of at a dead halt. His biggest momentum so far has been him being mad that Khabib got the number one pound for pound spot on the rankings. So yeah, I think it makes sense that he's at 4, especially just given everything going on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, Jon Jones is Jon Jones. Like, how many people have we seen just say, you know what, I'm done with this division, and just drop their belt because they're tired of just dominating everybody? And I mean, yes, he has had closer fights in recent years. A lot of people, including myself, thought he lost to Dominic Reyes, but still, there's no official loss. And even his one official loss on his record was due to a overzealous referee. So let's be real, he's very much an undefeated fighter throughout his career. So got to give Jones the love, even though there's a lot of people that like to knock on him for his outside of the cage, mishaps and things like that, which are very valid. But inside the octagon, his skill has kind of trumped all of those things. Makes him a little bit more infamous, but all those things come into play. I mean, we're talking about combat sport athletes where historically there's look at the most popular boxer in the world right now, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had his fair of mishaps outside of the ring as well when he was in his prime. That kind of added to that enigma, So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. No. It's. Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things where you've got a lot of people that respect Jones's ability in the cage, and a lot of people that watch him because they love to hate him, and that's that's kind of part of his charm, I guess, is that he kind of draws those people in, and it's. If you want to go wrestling terminology, you got to get a reaction. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, just got to get them going. And Jones certainly does that. Looking at the rest of this list, is there anything else you disagree with? The only one that I am, it's hard because I look at poor Figueiredo at 10, who now is turning around 21 days later, and he's on the outside looking in a little bit in terms of just like, I love Khamzat Chimaev, right? We know this, but that's a little, I don't know about that one. But other than that, is there any other things for you that stand out where you're like, this is way off?
That would be the one I would point to, would be Figgy, right? And I think if you want to put Figgy in there, it's going to have to be after this fight coming up next month here, or in 3 weeks time rather, because you have. And like I'm kind of baffled that she's not on this list. Yeah, and Willie Jang, like, why is she not on here? She represents a much larger group of people, a much larger country, and she did something that hadn't been done before. So it's very strange to me that she's not on this list at number 10. And I was gonna say, every time we look at UFC rankings, we look at like who compiles the list, and everyone's like, nobody's heard of these people. Well, we've heard of all of these people that have made this list, and much respect to all of them, because I know most of them. Some of them I have not heard of before, but most of these people I know, and I've had conversations with and covered events with, sat next to, all that kind of stuff. So I respect their opinions on a lot of things, but I think they kind of missed the mark with this one, not having Willie Jang in there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I had in my mind to talk about it, forgot. I'm glad you brought her up. Yes, she was number 1 trending on Weibo, which is the Chinese version of Twitter, when she won the belt. And she also, again, UFC went in and just renegotiated their television deal just when she won the belt. It was that easy. It was, hey, won the belt, we're just going to go in and just double. You're just going to pay us double. Yes. and they just didn't say anything. China was just like, yep, here you go. no questions asked. So for her not to be on here is bonkers to me. I think she's easily in that, top. I'd say put her above 10. I'd say put her in maybe even top 5 area, maybe above Nunes just because of the momentum. That's tough though. Yeah, maybe 6. I don't know. You could throw her somewhere in the middle. That's what I would say there, because she definitely is a much bigger star that people are giving her credit for.
I know what it is. I know what it is. They reference Instagram everywhere throughout this whole list, and then they don't mention her. She's only got 574,000 followers on Instagram. That's why you need to get your IG followers up, Willie Jang, and maybe you'll make this list.
Yeah, I guess that's it, man. Again, let us know your thoughts on the power rankings. Who do you have in your top 5, top 10 of the power rankings? Let us know, so we can, look at them and see whether or not you're on the right track. Because, come on, we're not wrong.